are ideally suited for growing the wide variety of apples needed for the making of fine ciders, for which this county is famous. Here, at the Cider Museum, we can rediscover some of the methods used in days gone by. The process starts with the crushing of the apples. This old mill is typical of those used on many a Herefordshire farm in the days before mechanisation and mass production. Here again the farmer used his old friend, the horse, to do the hard work. Later, with the coming of engines, mobile crushing machines were used, and these could be trundled from farm to farm. The next stage, extracting the juice, hasn't changed all that much over the years, but the machinery has. You're unlikely to overlook this massive beam press, which is over 300 years old. The apple juice was fermented, then matured in oak vats, like these, which date from Napoleonic times. On the farm, bottling was a simple affair, but in time the factories took over. This bottling plant dates from the 1920s. Until required, the cider would be stored in large, cool cellars, such as these. As well as the making of ordinary cider, the museum also has interesting exhibits on many associated crafts, such as champagne cider making and the distillation of cider brandy. At the shop, you can buy a wide variety of gifts, including their own excellent cider and cider brandy. The whole of this museum, now independently run, is housed in what was once the original Bulmer's cider factory. The boardroom has been preserved intact as a reminder of those days. Later, Bulmer's moved to a rather larger site, but their visitors' centre is still only next door to the Cider Museum. And here too you will find a warm welcome. There are guided tours of the mill, showing their wide range of ciders being made, and best of all, ending up with a chance to try them for yourself.
Yeah, that's nice, wasn't it?
Not a gulp, sip. What do we sip here? Pears.
This is a medium dry.
Medium dry, blend of pears. And it's about 8% alcohol.
Bulmer's is the name that most people associate with Herefordshire cider. But there are other producers working on a much smaller scale in the traditional way, like Ivor and Susie Dunkerton, who specialise in cider made from organically grown apples of the old original varieties, grown in their own orchards and processed in their small country mill near Pembridge. Their exclusive and delicious cider is sold in London's top stores, as well as locally, and here in the small shop that adjoins the mill.
It's still not quite that.
How sweet is that? Well, that's medium dry. The single varieties we do dry.
The last of the apples have fallen in the orchards, but at Queenswood Country Park, near Leominster, the trees are in their full autumnal glory. What a feast of colour there is to be seen at this time of the year. Besides the beauty of the autumn colours, there are a few surprises to discover as well. No wonder it's so popular with school parties. Nature lovers can enjoy this park right through the year, and it's all free. The visitors' centre and cafe are also interesting. They're housed in two old buildings rescued from demolition, the old tannery from Leominster and the 300-year-old Essex Arms from Hereford. Even when the leaves have fallen and the trees are bare, they are still beautiful with their branches forming patterns against the winter sky. Winter in the countryside has its compensations, like a cheerful fire to gather round on a cold, dark evening. This is the time for storytelling and the spinning of a good yarn.
So we went upstairs, sat in, had a cup of coffee and biscuits, and my wife went off to bed, and I went off to sleep for a few minutes. I suddenly woke up, and I watched the James Cagney film. As I was watching, I could feel this form in the doorway. I could see a form in the doorway.
When it comes to ghost stories, it's hard to beat the small border town of Kington, which has been buzzing with them for centuries. Most of these stories seem to be associated with the haunted house of Hargest Court. Nowadays it is a private residence and not open to the public, but once it was the home of the notorious Vaughan family. These are the effigies of Thomas Vaughan, known as Black Vaughan, and his wife, Ellen the Terrible, who are buried in the church of St. Mary. In the Wars of the Roses, Thomas, despite his 69 years, fought bravely for the Yorkists at the Battle of Banbury, where he was killed in 1469. One of the many legends has it that, ever since, the ghost of his great black dog has haunted the house and its surroundings. There are still those who won't come near this place at night, and others who even claim to have seen the ghost itself. The apparition is said to have appeared before a death in the family, and it is thought that this is the story which inspired Conan Doyle to write his Hound of the Baskervilles. It seems that the good folk of Kington have been troubled over the years by various other ghostly visitations, but fortunately these were exorcised with bell, book and candle in the church. Unlike its ghosts, the town itself is a friendly place. It's the oldest town in the county after Hereford, having existed before King Offa built his dyke. Its present name, meaning Royal Town, was possibly given to it by Edward the Confessor, or perhaps an earlier monarch. In the hills behind, the highest golf course in England provides a lot of enjoyment for players who appreciate spectacular views. These members have certainly chosen a fine way to spend a winter's morning.
Oh, good. Well played. Well done, James. Well done. You did nearly try to talk me out there.
Others might prefer a brisk walk across somewhere like Bringsty Common. If you don't mind the cold, it can be a rewarding experience. As the festive season approaches, all over the county they're gathering mistletoe for the Christmas market. It could well be that it was from an old orchard like this that the spray decorating your home was picked. To our pagan ancestors, mistletoe was a symbol of fertility. And even today, our festivities just wouldn't seem the same without it. So you'd expect it to grow well in Herefordshire. And so the year comes to its close. But even now, in the bleakest depths of winter, new life is beginning to stir. And with it comes the promise that each lengthening day will bring us closer to another spring. Once more, the unchanging pattern of seasons will begin to unfold in this lovely, unspoiled corner of England we call Herefordshire.